Welcome everyone. So in Bamidbar we're starting a new sefer. In Bamidbar, so it says in this week's Parsha, V'yidaber Hashem al Moshe Lemar, after Hashem has Moshe count all the Bnei Yisrael, right? Then he says that he obviously Shevet Levi wasn't part of it, and Hashem addresses that to Moshe. It says, "Vayidaber Hashem al Moshe Lemar." Hashem spoke to Moshe, saying, "V'ani hinei lekachti es haLeviim mitoch bnei Yisrael." I took the Leviim from within the Bnei Yisrael. Tachas kol bechor peter rechem mi bnei Yisrael. Instead of all the bechorim, the firstborn of Bnei Yisrael, and the Leviim became mine.
What does the word peter rechem mean?
Peter rechem means the first opener of the womb. Meaning the only way that a bechor, meaning if I have my oldest son was born, but after a miscarriage or through a C-section, that's not a bechor. It's an oldest son, but it's not a bechor. So Peter rechem means the first, the opener of the womb. He opened the womb.
And you have to do pidyon again.
Right. Only at that point. Right. Well, and only if there's no what.
Depends if it's not a Kohen or Levi.
Right, or even if the wife is a bat Kohen or a bat Levi, also not.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So there's it's
also Levi.
What?
Not just Kohen, also Levi.
Right. So if it's because it's the Shevet Levi, the whole tribe of Levi. So Kohanim is part of it, right? So
my sister is pregnant. So if it's a boy, I thought pidyon ben, but so not because her husband is Levi.
Oh, that's it. So there's no pidyon ben. So pidyon ben is a very rare occurrence because you have to. I mean, how many times? Like if you think about it, just statistically, between births can be a man, can be a boy, can be a girl. So right away there you have 50-50 chance, and then if it's a C-section, then it's already not. And if it's the father or the mother is a Kohen or a Levi, it's not. And if there's a miscarriage before, it's not. So it's a very, very small chance that you're going to have a pidyon ben. It's a very, a special girl. I mean, Baruch Hashem, I'm the youngest, but my oldest son is a bechor and had a pidyon ben, and his son is a bechor, had a pidyon ben. So Baruch Hashem. But okay, and out of 5 of my brothers, only 3 of us had pidyon bens, which is also it's very rare because it happens to be that none of us had married a bas Levi or a bas Kohen, and there was no miscarriage before or whatever. So anyway, okay. And the others had girls first. But anyway, okay. So it says, "Ki li kol b'char." So Hashem ends off that pasuk saying, "The Leviim are for me," and then it says, "Ki li." The next pasuk says, "Ki li kol b'char b'yom hakosi," because the b'chorim became mine at the time that I hit, meaning I killed the b'chorim of Eretz Mitzrayim. At that time, hikdashti li kol b'char b'Yisrael. I made each and every one of the Bechorim in Yisrael Kodesh. I made them Kodesh me'adam ad behema, from man until animal. Li yu ani Hashem. There should be for me, I am Hashem. So the Nesivos Shalom addresses this, and he says, if you think about what the Psukim are saying, there's 2 parts of it. Ki li kol b'char b'yom hakosi, that at the time that I smote them, they that I killed them, so automatically the Bnei Yisrael became his, right? I killed the Mitzrayim, the firstborn of Mitzrayim, so therefore the firstborn of Klal Yisrael, since I didn't kill them, I saved them, so they're mine. Okay? And then he says, "Hikdashti li kol b'char," that I made each bechor of the Jews. I made each of them kodesh. I made them holy. So he says that we see from this that it's not one or the other. It's both together. It's the fact that he saved the Bnei Yisrael's Bechorim and he killed all the rest, and also the fact that he made them holy, right? So how do we go ahead?
I once heard that Bechorim are also more troublesome, more problematic.
What do you mean?
I don't know, Cain, Asa, I don't know if it's true or not. I once heard it.
I think Asa and Hevel in history was like that a little bit.
Well, because there was trouble between Yaakov and Esav, Yishmael, true.
But Pet Lechem, that's always a Bechor.
Right.
Cain also, no?
Peter
Hevel killed
Rechem is always Bechar. That's right. But
Cain was the
right.
first one.
Right. I mean, obviously, if he's still a Bechar, but he doesn't have to do Pidyon Ben, if he's the son of a Kohen or a Levi, mother or father. Right. So he explains from his grandfather, the Saba Kadosh Mislanim. He says, what does Bechor really mean? Bechor means a ta'anug, an enjoyment, a pleasure, because the fact. I mean, I guess the simple lashon, the simple explanation would be the fact that the Bechor is the first time I become a father.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a real pleasure for me. But it's also the actual word Bechor has one of the translation besides being firstborn also is a pleasure, right? So what do we see from this? He says that if we go back in the pasuk in Shemos where it all happened, in Shemos it says right before the Makas Bechoros, the last plague, right beforehand, it talks about the Karban Pesach, right? Hashem gives the Bnei Yisrael the mitzvah of Achodesh Hazeh Lachem, and then he gives them the mitzvah of taking an animal it should be for a Karban Pesach, right? And he tells us how to eat it, how it should be eaten in groups, and it should be eaten in, with our belts ready to go, we're all ready to go, right? And then it says in Pasuk Yud Beis, Kapitel Yud Beis, Pasuk Yud Beis, it says, "V'avartu be'eretz Mitzrayim b'layla hazeh," and I passed through, and Hashem is going to pass through Eretz Mitzrayim in that night, and I'm going to kill all the Bechorim of Eretz Mitzrayim, and he says, "Me adam ad behema," right? From man through to animal. I'm going to do judgments to the idols of Mitzrayim, and it also says, it explains, it goes on to say that from the Bechor of Paro, the Bechor of the king that is sitting on his throne or going to be sitting on his throne, right? Ad Bechor Hashevi Asher Bebeis Habar Bechol Bechor Behema. Even through all the way down to the firstborn of the captive, like a captive person who's in captivity, but they have a firstborn, also they, right? And also the Bechor Behema, right? And also the Bechorim of animals. So we see that there's 3 different levels of the Bechorim that the Torah mentions, right? And each one has a significance to it, right? There's the ones that is the highest one, which is the firstborn of Paro, is the one that is shaykh to the moach. It's connected to the brain, right? That is the metaphor over here. That the highest one, meaning that we of our brain. That the pleasures. Again, we're translating bechor to mean pleasure also. So the pleasures of the brain, meaning anything that would give us pleasure, reading a book or something like that, right? And then it goes to the lower one, which is the Bechor HaShevi, the firstborn of the captive, which is more of a physical type of pleasure, which is the lev, the heart, right? Then it's the lowest, which is the most physical, which is the animal, which is the animalistic part of ourselves that, what we'd like that pleasures our body, okay? That only pleasures our body, right? So, and this goes according to what we say in the Chazal tell us that how does a person come to sin, right? First, it's something he sees with his eye, and then afterwards it goes, to the heart, right? And after that, the Kli HaMaaseh Mugomer, the actual limbs of our body finish the sin. They actually do the sin, right? But it first starts with the eye, and the eye is connected to the brain. So that's how it goes according to these levels. So, what did Hashem do in Mitzrayim? Hashem, He made it submissive. He submitted the Bnei Yisrael. The Mitzrayim. He submitted in all different levels. He first submitted them in by the brain, the pleasure of the brain, then through the pleasure of the heart, which is more a little bit physical, and then through the pleasure of the limbs of our body. So we see from this that this comes to teach us that the first thing that we need to do is to, what did Hashem do first before He took us as Bechorim, before He took the firstborn as His? He first killed the Bechorim of Mitzrayim. And the killing of Bechorim of Mitzrayim is actually the metaphor for uprooting the bad that we have within us, right? So uprooting the klipa of Mitzrayim, right? So, and all its impurities. And only afterwards is he able to go ahead and make the Bechor of Klal Yisrael actually holy. Because HaKadosh Baruch Hu, right, HaKadosh Baruch Hu gives a Kedusha. If you go ahead and if you think about it, that the Kedusha of anything that we do, Hashem makes it that we can, even going to the bathroom, it becomes a mitzvah. Afterwards, we say Asher Yatzar, and if we think about it, everything, if we do everything with thought and proper intent, then everything becomes a mitzvah. Everything, even the most mundane thing, can become a mitzvah. So we see from this that how is it that I can go, what is the actual way to be able to get to where Hashem wants us? And the way is to freely first take away the bad and then do the good, just like Hashem did. He took away the Mitzrayim, the Bechorim of the Mitzrayim, and then he made us holy. So if we take away the bad first, then we can go ahead and do the good. So, and when we do the good, we can actually go ahead and bring Kedusha to each and every one part of what we're talking about, from the brain to the heart and to the limbs of our body. Now, as we said in a different shir, a couple of weeks ago, I think, that we can't do one without the other. We can't do Sur Meirah without Aseh Tov. We can't do Aseh Tov without Sur Meirah. We can't push away the bad without doing good, and we can't do good without pushing away the bad. We have to have both together. So we have to hold on to them and realize. And how are we going to do that? So he says, if you think about it, what happened with Yosef HaTzadik? Okay, you know that Shimi, that's Fleischer. Okay, just wanted to make sure you know. Okay, so Yosef HaTzadik, what happened? He was thrown into a pit, and the what it says in the Torah when he was thrown into the pit, it says the pit didn't have any water in it. It was empty. It didn't have water. So the Rashi says on that it didn't have water, but it had snakes and scorpions. Okay, so and it's learned from the pasuk because there's nothing that the Torah says for nothing, right? If it says the pit was empty, it says it's empty. Why does it have to say there was no water? The answer is that it's telling us there was no water, but there was some very, very, he wasn't going to drown from water, but there was dangerous stuff going on in there with the scorpions and the snakes. So we see that the same thing goes in the metaphor. How we have if a person is filling himself with something, then the other thing can't fit in, right? So there was it reminds me of a story, which I believe the story is true, but it's also used as a metaphor. There was a story that I heard by one of my son's first Gemara party, I think. They were starting Gemara, so basically one of the Rabbeim said a story there that he said that there was this guy that didn't have much money. He really didn't have much money. He worked hard, and he used to get old bread, and he used to put the bread, it was hard, so he put the bread in water, and that's the way he was able to eat. He didn't really have much food. And so what happened was, one time he found out that one of his cousins was getting married. So he said, I'm going to go to that. That's going to be amazing. I'm going to have food. There's going to be a shmorg. There's going to be a dinner. It's going to be great. So he gets ready for it. He says he decides that he's not going to eat for like a few days beforehand. He's going to eat very, very little because he wants to have a good appetite for the wedding. So he's saving all this bread for later, and he's eating very, very little. And it comes to the night of the wedding. And how did they do it in those days? In those days, they didn't have printers. They didn't have, invitations. A runner would go around the neighborhoods, and he would go from house to house to whoever's invited and knock on the door and say, "You're invited to so-and-so's wedding." And this, so he's like at bated breath, waiting for the runner to come and knock on his door. And he's looking out of the window, and he sees the runner coming, and he says, he's so happy, right? And he goes to everybody else's door, but not his. And then he goes through, he says, man, he's probably going to come back. And he goes, and it's wild, it's like a half hour, an hour. He didn't come back. An hour and a half, he says, I'm not going to crash the wedding. I didn't get invited, that's it, I'm not going to go. So he starts eating, and he's filling himself with all this, bread that he had saved up, and it's the hard bread, and dipping it either with the water that he has or with his tears, then he's not getting into the wedding, right? And then all of a sudden a knock comes on the door after he finished all his bread. A knock comes on the door. He says, I'm so sorry. I meant to, I don't know how I missed you. I'm so sorry. So he says, no, it's okay. But meanwhile, he's full from the bread. And he goes and he goes to the shmorg, and he sees all this delicious food, and he can't put anything in his mouth. He's totally full. So he says that's the metaphor for when we go ahead and we see that we can't say that that poor man, is he going to say that all the delicacies that they had at the shmorg is not delicious? Of course it's delicious, but he can't fill himself. He can't do anything. So the same thing with Torah. If we fill our minds with all different garbage, then the Torah is not going to be sweet because we can't even get it in there. But so the other way goes the same thing, that if we fill our minds with Torah, then other things can't get in. So the same thing is with how it says the bar reik ein bo mayim, that we learn from that there's no mayim is like Torah is compared to mayim. So water, if there's no holiness in it, then there's going to be bad stuff in it automatically. And he says he brings from Chazal tell us that Nishmas Yisrael that the neshama of Yisrael is from the world of pleasure. That's where it comes from. And if it's not getting pleasure from the holy side, it's going to start looking for pleasure from the not unholy side, to say the least.
Also.
Right?
In my military.
Right. So there's what I said before.
I didn't realize you were saying that. I thought we were just comparing them. I didn't realize
Oh yeah, right. The real water is like a Jew without Torah is like a fish without water. It's not gonna. We can't live without a Torah. So therefore, this is what we're saying, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu killed the Bechorim of Mitzrayim, and then he was Mekadesh us, so that this way we can go ahead and do the same thing and be Mekadesh and take all the enjoyments that we really want to have and use them for Torah, which a sister-in-law of mine said once that, Elisa Reich, I'm almost positive this was just, she told me, so that if, I didn't see it in the sefer, but I trust her, that she knows what she's talking about. She said that if a person is full, like there's no, he doesn't feel like he has anything, he's not hungry at all, he's satisfied, but he just has all of a sudden this cheshek, this desire to take a bite of something sweet or something like that. So where is it coming from? It's coming from the neshama. The neshama wants really something davish of kedusha. The neshama really wants something holy, but we don't know how to translate it, and we're going ahead and we're going to take a cookie or something like that, right? So that's where it's coming from. Or a cigarette, right? So. So he says that also in the Beis Hamikdash, there was also 3 levels, because we know the Beis Hamikdash there was the Kodesh Kodashim, and then there was the Heichal, and then after the Heichal there was the Azara where everybody would come. So the same thing, the Kodesh Kodashim is connected to the Moach, okay, the highest part, and then the Heichal is connected to the Lev, and the Azara is connected to the Evarim. What's in the Azara? The Mizbeach, right? And the Mizbeach, we have a mitzvah in the Mizbeach that we should always, the fire has to be there always. That's what we have, the Ner Tamid, by over the Aron Kodesh to be a zecher for that, because it says Eish Tamid Tukad Al Mizbeach, right? What is it? Al Mizbeach Lo Yisachav. It should never get extinguished, right? So the same thing goes over here, that Kol Halayla Ad Boker, that we always are filling ourselves with Kedusha. We always have the Eish Torah to be able to fight the Eish of the Tumah, of impurity. And if we think about the days that we're in right now, we have Chag Pesach, right? And then afterwards we have Yimei Sfira, and afterwards is Shavuos, which we're coming up to, right? So it says that we know that if we look in the tefillos of Sfira, it says that that they are coming to be able to purify ourselves from our klipos and our impurities, right? And only then we can come to the Chag HaShavuos, right? Which is what? Vatem tiuli mamlechas kohanim v'gai kadosh. That you, by accepting the Torah, you're going to become a kingdom of priests and a holy nation, right? So, in order to be able to accept the Torah, we have to do our part, which is to uproot the physical things that we do that are not connected to kedusha, right? And then we can come to Mikasa, the Kabbalah Torah, the proper way. And I'm just going to end off with a paragraph that he ends with, talking about the Shabbos before Shavuos, which is also the Shabbos. And it says that we know that the Torah, in order to acquire the Torah, we have 48 ways to acquire it. It says it in Perek Vav in Avos, the list of 48 ways to acquire the Torah. And it says also that there's a pasuk that says Ki im b'Torah Hashem chefsai u'v'sarasa yega b'yom v'leila. That the person should have his desire is in Torah, and he should constantly be delving into it day and night, right? So when it says the Torah Hashem chefsai, that his desire is Torah, that means that he's learning Torah for the right reason. He's not learning Torah for some other, alternative, some alternate incentive or whatever. Ulterior motive, right? So, thank you. So, and in Sanhedrin it says, the Gemara in Sanhedrin says something very scary. If a person is learning Torah only according to leprakim, meaning here and there, and he's not really, doesn't have a set time to learn Torah, then therefore what happens? It's actually like a person that does a terrible sin with a woman, right? That's not his wife, obviously, right? So, and then it's like it's so bad. It's like that he doesn't have a heart. I mean, he's only doing it because of his desire, his lust, and not any real background to it of goodness from it. So he's comparing that to a person who just said, I have a cheshek, I think I'll learn some Torah now. I have a cheshek to learn Torah now. But if I don't have a cheshek, I'm not going to learn Torah, right? So that means Torah is not really his own. That's not really, he's not doing it from the desire that he really wants to learn Torah, because otherwise he would do it at least once a day, right? So, so he says that how is it we know that we get it for the 48 ways to learn Torah, the 48 ways of wisdom, right? But then it says we know that the days of Sefira are 49. So he says each one is opposite each way, right? Of the ways of Torah, the ways of wisdom is the first 48 days, it goes accordingly. And the 49th day is one extra day for what? Because after we do all the advice that the Torah tells us, the 48 ways of wisdom, right? At the end, we have to daven to make sure that we have to really pray to Hashem to make sure that we can actually receive the Torah, because all the different wonderful ways that we try is great, but the most important thing is we have to daven to make sure that Hashem is actually going to help us do it, because we can't do it without Hashem. And that's what it says, that in regard to Sefira, it says, "V'krafta mincha chadash al Hashem." You should bring a carbon of a new carbon to a new present to Hashem, right? That it's in order to be able to receive the Torah properly, we can't go ahead and do it with different concepts of lofty concepts. We have to really do it from our heart and proper intent, and asking Hashem to be able to help us, because all that we invest in it is not going to be come to fruition without the siyata d'shmaya of Hashem helping us through. So therefore, we come to the pasuk that says, "V'anis tefilasi lecha Hashem eis rotzain," and my tefillah to Hashem, to you Hashem, is at a time that Hashem wants, right? So because I'm going to every chassid, even the most highest of the Jews, has to daven to be able to that all these different things that we did for all the days of Sefira, from Pesach all the way through. Because what other Yantif do we have such long preparation for? Only Shavuos. There's no such thing as such a long preparation. Only Shavuos. And so that all these days that we prepared, and we did 48 ways and all this, we should go ahead and it should not be for naught, all this effort, and Hashem should help us that we should be Makabel Torah the way that HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants us to and have the achdus that we had by Kabbalah Satorah in all Klal Yisrael.
Amen.